Hello, everybody. We are live again. Um, Today, we're going to talk about perception as it relates to the holidays and family and how to navigate during this time of year. I know it can be a very stressful time of year for a lot of people and for many reasons. So, we're going to talk about kind of our views of why this happens, why at this time of year particularly, and also what people can do to help um, take care of themselves better and how to navigate, not navigate family so much, but navigate themselves in relationship to those that they love. And we might even share, I was just thinking right now, also just sharing kind of some of our memories. And I don't know if that's, I'm just throwing that out there, Chrissy. I don't know if that's something you want to do, but I would like to personally just kind of share a few of my memories during the holidays, which I have good memories. And it's interesting. I've talked to other people, and they say that during this time of year, they tend to remember more of their past memories than like other parts of the year. Like this is the time when memories are made, whether they're good or bad. This is the time that we tend to remember, Christmas time as a kid, or Thanksgiving. Here in the U.S., we have Thanksgiving in November. So, yeah. That being said, I think we'll just talk a little bit about first what, why maybe this is a can be a difficult time of year for people. And I know personally for me, it has to do with, or it had to do with, I don't really feel this way anymore, but had to do a lot with depression. We're coming towards the end of the year now. And, we can look back and we can reflect and say, oh, this was another hard year. Every year, sometimes for some of us seems to get a little bit more difficult. Or it stays kind of the same. Things don't seem to be changing. And we start the new year off fresh, like with new projects or new aspirations. And we have a sense of newness. And there is a lot of energy at the very beginning of a year. There's always a boost of energy that we get. And then so we get to the end of the year, this time, November, December, and a lot of us feel drained. A lot of us feel that we don't have any energy, or there's that sense of unfulfillment that we didn't get to fulfill. Maybe the dreams that we had or the relationships that we had didn't end well, or maybe there was loss in our family. That can happen too. We've lost a loved one. So I really want to open up this idea of there's many reasons, and I'd like to hear from you, Chrissy, as well, like why you feel this can be a difficult time of year for people.
Yeah. Well, before we get started all the way, I just want to let everyone who's joining us today know that we have figured out the technology. So we can see your comments now. So if you have any questions or comments or want guidance on anything, feel free to go ahead and post those so that we can address those now that we've figured out our technology. We're so excited. We finally did it. So, okay, Tyler, back to what we're talking about today. There's so many things that are present in my life that can make the holidays hard. And I think, the first question, which is what we're talking about today, like last week, we talked about how perception can help us master the romantic relationship. And so today we're going to talk about perception and how we can actually thrive in our family dynamics rather than just white knuckle and survive these these times of engagement when we're having Thanksgiving dinner together or spending Christmas together. And I think the biggest question is, why is it so hard to be around family? I know that a long time ago, I I heard a quote that stuck with me, and it was something to the effect of, if you want to know if you're enlightened, go spend a week with your family and you will see all the places that you are healed or are not healed. And ever since I learned of that, I paid attention to that. And here in my life, I'm like so aware, and I make a conscious effort to choose love. And I'm not saying there's not conflict or, hiccups in my life at all, but they're very few and far between. But the minute I get around my family, it's like I forget everything, and I become the one who's creating drama, or like I'm the one who's acting up. And so I've done a lot of reflection and introspection on this, and a lot of research as well. And I think the answer, the biggest answer, is that we all somehow get assigned a family role, and these roles are ingrained in us. We learn these patterns of these roles in those first 7 years of our lives, which are the most, dynamic. It's when we're absorbing the most information. And the longer you stay in certain patterns, the harder it is to actually see and then also change those patterns. So I'm curious what's coming alive for you around all of that.
I agree that we have really what perception is, how I see that perception is, it's an accumulation of beliefs. So we might have had a belief as a kid that we didn't receive a love from a particular parent. So then that love gets amplified during what's supposedly supposed to be a happy holiday like Christmas, and something happens, and a trauma, and that's when a trauma happens, we take it on. So um, I believe that accumulation, which forms our perception, the accumulation of beliefs or memories. All memory is a perception of the past brought forth. So it's our updated conditioning. Um, then we bring that in again to our families. If we create our own family, we have a family. Or if, let's say, we go back and we spend a week or a few days with our parents, so that perception of ourself, we hold on to that. So now we're in front of our, let's just say, and I'm just giving examples because I know this isn't going to be the same for everybody at all. Everybody has different situations. Some people only have one parent, some people don't have any parents. So I'm just basically giving examples based on my own, or we both are, I think, based on our own experience. So then we're in front of our parent, and then we see ourselves as they see us. So as we see ourselves, that's how they see us. So there's a degree of how much we actually want to shift that, or how much we fall into that. And that's where the triggers come in. That's where we get triggered. Somebody just can say one little tiny thing, and Christmas is ruined for eternity, and then we never want to go back and spend time with our family or something. I mean, it's this is a time where we really can't take anything personally anymore in our life. And I think family, yeah, what you said earlier, absolutely, family is that mirror and that opportunity of change to be able to help us make shifts. So I think family is wonderful in that regard.
Yes.
Um,
Absolutely. Yeah, I love how you said the mirror, and there was another word you just used that I don't remember, but what it brought up for me is that, the triggers, all of our triggers, we're getting triggered. It's a trigger to show us what it is that we haven't loved and accepted in ourselves. And our family is the mirror of that. We're all mirrors of each other. So it's like, if we're seeing something at Thanksgiving dinner that we're judging, really, we're just being triggered to look at ourselves. And I think that when you adopt that system, that thought process or system, whatever you want to call it, then it can make the interactions a lot easier because you're not externalizing anything and you're not blaming anyone. And it, instead of it being like, wow, they're the problem, now it's like, oh, cool, I have something that I can love deeper. And it becomes, the shift in that becomes a more delightful experience, I guess. That sounds weird, but
No,
delightful.
I think, yeah, you're right. And this is a game. We are in a game of self mastery. This is what life is about, is self mastery. So the opportunity is, or are those moments when we get triggered, for example, when we're around family. Those are the opportunities. Um, I can't, I've done some research, but I can't tell you exactly. But I know that in India, the um, the parents are revered as, sacred beings. A lot of the prayers, and please correct me if anybody is from India in the audience. Um, it's like a prayer, being with their parents. A pule here in Hawaii is what they call it. That that they show, and I could be just going totally off here, but they show us actually everything, because we're actually the version 2.0 of our parents, really. And then our kids are the next upgrade. The kids are the upgrade, right? So even if we were given all of these beliefs, even though if we soaked up all of these things, that was a choice that we made at some point, that we were going to do this because we knew that we could handle it. So just, and that's a lot. That can be a lot for a lot of people. So even just kind of coming down to earth, we have that ability to be able to move through things a lot quicker, and to begin to change our perception about how things are. So, let's say your mother, for example, says something to you, and you're sitting around the turkey dinner, right? And it triggers you. It's like, oh, okay, well, a trigger is just a feeling that's unexpressed. So you recognize that. And I'm talking about the game of self mastery here. You recognize it, and then you feel it, and then you respond. So you can respond in any way. You could go ape shit, excuse my language, and then just blow up the drama if you wanted to. Or you could be like, okay, this is an opportunity for me to love deeper, like you said, an opportunity to move into greater love for yourself, and then love for that person that raised you.
Yeah. I love how you said that it's a choice, and that, we're here because we can handle the choice we made to be here. And this morning, as I was preparing for this conversation, it was the zoomed out view. I also saw something on Facebook about pre-birth planning, so if we take the zoomed out view, we picked our parents, we picked our brothers and sisters, we picked all of that. And we deliberately chose that because we knew it was going to create and serve us everything that we need for our soul's journey and our highest healing. And so not only in the moment do we have a choice to externalize or blame versus choosing to own it for ourselves as a part that we've rejected, disowned, or denied, and choose to love deeper, we always have that choice over love or fear. Always. And once we really own that we choose these things, that we chose our parents, that we chose our families, that we chose to go be at that, turkey dinner, when we really understand that we're choosing it and we're choosing it because we want it, there becomes a lot more space, I think, to navigate and hold not just your own perspective, but the perspective of someone else as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it goes back to, it's almost like changing your perception of yourself first, or having the willingness to be like, maybe you don't need to change your perception of yourself. Maybe you can just be like, okay, this is how my parents see me. I'm still Tyler, 8-year-old boy. That's okay. Maybe play that,
Yeah.
maybe be playful. Um, so and then the holidays can also be really beautiful too. I mean, it's not all doom and gloom, obviously. I think we're kind of focusing more on that side because I know it can be very difficult for people, but there's also that beautiful aspect too. And we do have good memories, and many people do have good memories of spending time um, with their family. And then the comparison comes when, oh, I remember that great time when I was 7, but when I was 18 or 19, I was alone. I was the only person in my college dorm, and I didn't have anybody, right?
Yeah.
So then I had to seek out other people around me that were also alone, and I made that effort. So there are things you can do also. I just wanted to talk a little bit about that as well, because I know a lot of people feel that aloneness during this time, whether you're with your family or you don't have anybody to go to. Um, Again, I would say that this is another opportunity. It's really this time of year. It's this condensed part of the year is really an opportunity to heal a lot and to bring peace within yourself. And so, people that are alone, I would recommend seeking out others that maybe feel the same way, or helping others, or just giving company to others that feel the same way. And then you won't feel alone, and then they won't feel alone, and you guys can talk stories, with what we call it here in Hawaii. You can just have a chat, right? And I just wanted to mention that a little bit because I think it's important for those who feel alone, and then those who feel alone within their family dynamics. That's going to happen as well. Um, like you had said, Chrissy, about everybody kind of plays a role, right? Somebody might be the black sheep, somebody's a scapegoat, somebody. There are many roles that the hero, the guy that the son that comes in and gives everybody the presents, or makes everybody happy. So everybody has that role. It's whether or not you want to change that role,
Mhm.
um, which you can do. And that goes back to self-care, and we can talk about that a little bit later on as well. So I'm just kind of rambling again. If you want to say anything about any of that.
Yeah. Well, I love the topic of feeling alone during this time of year. And also we can add stressed out, stretched too thin. So there's so many scenarios or life situations that can create the experience of, feeling alone. And as a single mother, every other year, I don't have my kids for Christmas. So every other year, there's this dread. Like, I don't even want the day to come, right? Like, it's like, I just want to skip it this year because I don't have my kids with me. Whether I'm with friends or literally alone, like I spent last Thanksgiving alone hiking, but what I did, like, this is where I'm going with all this. It's like, and I had to do this a couple of years ago because I had and I think collectively we do this, especially with Christmas and Thanksgiving. It's like I had these ideas that every single holiday, right? It was my perception that every single holiday had to be this humongous celebration and that you had to be surrounded by, everybody. And I think somewhere along my journey, it started with Valentine's Day. One year I was single on Valentine's Day and I just thought my whole world was going to end. And my coach at the time was like, it's just a day. Like, it's Tuesday, right? What do you do on a Tuesday? And then when my kids were young, Mother's Day, like they were too young to actually do anything for me. So it always felt, without a partner to be there to celebrate, it always felt like I just don't even want Mother's Day to be here, because like nobody's going to do anything for me. I'm still playing the role of a mother and I don't get a break because my kids are young. And so I was able to look at my perception of like, oh, this is what I think that Mother's Day should be, or this is my expectation. And so if we can pull back, the truth is, right? The truth with the capital T is that and I truly believe this, like we should treat everyone like it's their birthday. We should always be this loving and this kind, that, maybe the holidays inspire us to be a little bit more giving or whatever, but like we should always be that way. And so if we can just look at these as like, they're just reasons, right? The holidays, our little human brains have created these reasons for us to cook a bunch of food, get together, give a bunch of presents. But really, like Thanksgiving, it's just a Thursday. That's all it is, right? And so for me, it really helped alleviate those expectations. Or, what I would do is I would go into self-pity, like, oh, I'm by myself. That means I'm not loved or lovable, and that none of that was true. It wasn't about me at all. It was about what I had put the meaning for that day as, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense, because that's usually the past, what had formed as our meaning for that day, right? And whether it's a past relationship for Valentine's Day, or it's a past memory for Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year's, we expect it to go a certain way, good or bad. And again, I come back to self-mastery all the time, because that's really always been my focus, is how do I navigate that? So I look at the expectation of how that day is supposed to be, and then, okay, so maybe I have a positive expectation that, I became a really good cook, because nobody, and this isn't true because my family was good cooks, but I'm just saying, for example, like I learned how to cook a turkey, right? And nobody had taught me that, so I learned to do that. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm just gonna jump around.
Totally fine.
Okay, because I had expectations, but I also had really varied, like Thanksgivings, for example. One year I was in Australia and I was staying on this organic farm, and it was like kind of like a woofer situation where the people working on the farm. So there was this one other couple there, and they were I think the guy was Turkish and she was American, and it was almost Thanksgiving, and we're like, we have to just create. We came into agreement. Let's create Thanksgiving for the Aussies, So we went out and we got it wasn't a turkey, but it was a piece of meat. It was a drake, which is like a duck. And then we created something out of nothing. Basically, we created a whole meal for, I think, like maybe 10 people. So we could have gone down the road of, we're not home, or we don't have Thanksgiving this year, or kind of go into lament about the past. And, but we didn't. We actually decided to create something for ourselves. One year, I with our family, the power went out, and so my dad, he took the turkey out of the oven and he started the Weber, and it was like pouring out rain, thunder, lightning. The trees were swinging like this, and he finished that turkey in the Weber, and I was like he was committed, to actually make a change. And the idea was he shifted from how it could have been to, not having turkey, to figuring out a solution to make it better. And I think we can do that also, whether we are alone or whether we come into a family situation. It's almost like really focusing like, okay, the past was the past. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to maybe, um, try to be helpful and loving no matter what the reaction is from my parents or my siblings. I'm going to make a difference, in this moment. So that's what I wanted to open up with you, how you feel like people can change, how they can go from victim to expectation to creating something new.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of experience in this, arena. So my background is, I was bulimic. Um, I went to treatment when I was 29, and that addiction started when I was 5. And then I got sober when I was 34. So the holidays, they had a lot of loaded behaviors in those, right? Like Thanksgiving was a day that, I didn't care really about my family because I had something else to keep me occupied, and no one would say anything if I was eating a lot, if they were even watching me, you know what I mean? So that always had like its own, I was in my own world anyways. And then most from the age of 19 until 34, pretty much every holiday was just another reason to drink and get as loaded as I could. And so when I got out of treatment for the eating disorder and when I got sober, I had to recreate the patterns. I had to now start choosing, which I think is a great practice in our entire life. It's like, well, instead of just doing what I always did, how do I create what it is that I want? Well, first I have to decide, what do I want? What do I want this day to look like? What do I want this day to be about? What kind of feelings do I want to have during this day? What people do I actually want to spend my time with, right? Like a lot of times we'll just say yes to this gathering because we don't want to be alone, but do we really want to be in that energy, And so it was kind of like, oh, wow, like I have a blank canvas. And none of it was easy. Like I want to make that very clear, right? None of it was easy. I got sober December 7th, 2013. So my first Christmas was like, I didn't have my kids. I ended up going to an AA meeting that day. Some people there, they invited me to go see a movie, and I had said no. And then right after, she was like, oh, this movie would probably trigger you anyway, but like I had to create what it is that I wanted for the holiday and not just default into old patterns or old behaviors. And, I love how you said, like, if you feel alone, help somebody. And for the first few years of sobriety, the only thing I could do on the years that I didn't have my kids, so this year I have them for Thanksgiving, next year I won't. But like the only thing I could do was go be a part of these AA marathons. They put them on for 24 hours for support so people don't have to spend it alone. And that's all I really knew how to do. And it's evolved now to where on those days, like if I don't have them, I'm like, cool, I actually get a day to rest and only make the one dish that I want to eat, and there's nothing wrong with that. And sometimes I do, like, this is just being completely human and completely transparent and vulnerable. Like sometimes I do like feel judgment or fear that other people are going to judge me and gossip about me, like, oh my gosh, she's all alone, she doesn't have anybody, but like it doesn't really matter because it's just a day. Like
Right.
all it is, and it still happens. Like I am so focused on our trip to Hawaii that I have no idea what I'm doing for Christmas this year. So I haven't created that day. But the other piece to it is like being with those feelings as they're happening on that day is going to help you shift and transmute so that the next year they might not be as strong. So the truth is, there's not a year during Christmas that goes by when I don't have them that I don't feel a sadness or something missing. But instead of trying to control everything where I have to put all these pieces in place so I don't feel the sadness of not having my kids, I just allow that. Like, that's pretty normal to be a parent that doesn't have your kid on a day that's all about giving your kids as many presents as they can and not feeling sad.
Yeah. Excellent. Beautiful perception or beautiful perspective of just being able to be with it, and it's not just the holidays, even though we're talking about the holidays, but that really applies all the time, right? I mean, all the time.
Right. These are practices that are done for me daily, weekly, like on a regular basis. It's not just the holidays, but the holidays do bring up so much more intense feelings, which is more of a gift because when the pain is so big that we don't want to feel it or look at it, that's when we have to.
Yeah, that's true. It seems to be magnified for a lot of people during this time, and it's like the rush to the end of the year, right? It's conflicting feelings of wanting to relax and be with family, enjoy ourselves, but also feeling the pressure. It's the end of the year. What do I do? What did I do this year? What is next year going to be like? Can I actually come out of this and be sane? I mean, there's a lot to what actually happens. So yeah, because this time of year is this way, it doesn't mean that it can't be a wonderful, wonderful time of year. And even going into, let's say, for example, we do have a family gathering, and you're starting to prepare internally for that, whether you're conscious of it or not. There's some part of you that's preparing for this, right? So how I guess, and I'll ask you in a minute, and I kind of share how I would prepare for it is just basically just starting with self-care. Really taking care of myself, slowing down, breathing, maybe going for a walk in nature. Well, I don't have time to slow down. Well, there's always time to slow down. It's just like, are you going to actually give yourself that time? Even if it's 2 a.m, are you going to give yourself that time to slow down? And then also creating an energy, I mean, we're talking about everything is quantum these days, right? I would say create an energy of how you want that experience to be, how you feel that in your whole being, how you want that experience to be. Maybe there's laughter. For the first time you made your little sister laugh. For the first time you brought tears to your father's eyes, or something like that. Creating an energy of whatever that is for you: joy, compassion, love. And then for those who believe in something that's beyond ourselves, Prayer is always wonderful. Having a prayer before you go into a situation, whether that you believe in the Buddha or you believe Source or you believe in Jesus, you can say, "Please help me. Bring light." This is a time of light. This is the festival of light. We are moving into that time of the festivals of light, where the sun begins to move into more light. So I think it can be a beautiful time of year, and I believe that each one of us has the opportunity, like you said, to be able to change how your day is. If you're still feeling stuff about that, beautiful. That's part of the change. And then you do something about that. Once you've felt what you needed to feel, then the next step I would say would be to create the change. You be that change, whether it is doing a marathon for the AA group, or whether it is going to a nursing home. There's so many people there that are just sitting alone for the holidays. It's very sad to me that we have that, in this world. I think everybody should be, um, everybody needs to be shown love, right? So how can you bring that love to other people? Um, and I'm very lucky that I live here in Hawaii, because family is everything to the people of these islands. And it's not just the holidays, every day can be a holiday. And which, for people here, and I don't mean every day, I don't mean to generalize it like that, but yeah, family, people will do anything for their family. So we can talk about family, but we can actually broaden that idea that everything is family. And that's what some of the kahunas believe too, that everything and everyone is family. So yeah, so if you are alone, you can create change. Or if you're going to go into a situation with your family, you can create change as well. So we do have the power to change our perception and actually change the energy of what we're walking into as well.
Yeah. I love that, be the change that you want to see. I know for me, a long time, especially at the beginning of my awakening and my healing, and putting these self-mastery practices into place, like I really wanted them to change. Like, I'm doing all this work, how come they're not doing this work? And so it really is up to us to be the change. No one else is gonna do it for us. And I love the perception of every day can be a holiday. um, One thing I noticed a couple of years ago is that during Thanksgiving, everyone starts posting about gratitude. And I'm like, well, why aren't we doing this all year long? Like why do we just wait for one day? Well, I played around with that a little bit. And one Thanksgiving, probably 10 years ago or so, I just stopped paying attention to the energy around me and felt into the collective. And when you do that on Thanksgiving and on Christmas, everyone is so much more focused on peace and joy and gratitude, and you can feel it, like, as far as you can expand your energy. And it's really, really cool. So yeah, every day, I think every day we should be just as focused on how can we communicate with our family better? How can we love our family better? How can we express this gratitude? How can we give to each other? So expanding there. And then also in in another perception, which we haven't kind of talked about, it's like the true, when we talk about relationships and relating, like in authentic relating, we're present, right? So when we're present, it really is true that we are new in every single moment. And so after we do our self-care and we watch our thoughts about how are we talking to ourselves, what are we thinking, what are we judging, and like really unravel all that, when we're in these interactions, when we're at Thanksgiving dinner, when we're with our family on Christmas, it's like we can bring these principles into Like, this is where we're supposed to bring these principles into practice, right? So a game that I've played for a long time with my family or anyone that I have a history with is pretending that I'm meeting them for the first time. Because the truth is, I'm not actually pretending, I am. And if you
Mm.
think about it, when you're meeting with strangers, what's the energy? You know, you're like, oh, you're curious. Like, what do you do? How do you know these people? What's going on? You know? And so if we can bring that energy to these interactions and we lead with curiosity, like really exploring what's going on in my sister's life, what is going on in my dad's life right now, what does he think about all this food, you know, what does the food taste like to them, you know, everyone's at the table, we're all having our own experience of this meal, and there's so many places just in the moment that you can explore from a different point of view.
Mm. That's wonderful. I love that, Christina. It's just that it's so true. We are new in every moment, and I love that idea of curiosity because that's how we were when we were kids. You know, we were
Mhm.
curious about the holidays. We were curious about, you know, if you believe in Santa Claus, like who is this like fat old dude going through the chimney? We were curious about all of these little things, you know. And I'm not just talking about the holidays, but that curiosity is playfulness, and
Yep.
however they respond, it's like almost like who cares? Like you're bringing the energy of I guess that would be the festivity, would be that energy of curiosity or the energy of newness, right? So it
Mhm.
doesn't really matter what kind of dynamics unfold in any situation because you're kind of maintaining that happiness within you, right? You're maintaining that, and I think that's really beautiful. I love that,
Yeah.
coming into it with curiosity and playfulness, and um, yeah,
Yeah. Well, I love what you
yeah,
said about that's the festivity. You know, if you ask my kids what they're excited about for Thanksgiving, their answer is pumpkin pie. I mean, that's all we cared about as kids, right? It was like playing with our cousins and like having pie, right? And so if we can let go of the expectations for us to have a political conversation or, you know, a spiritual conversation, or even have our family members join us in our deeper beliefs, and we keep it with the appreciation of just being there, the appreciation of being able to just have pie, right? Or the appreciation
right,
of the family basketball game after you eat. I mean, there's so many different things that we can focus our attention on that will alleviate all of the wounding, all of the heaviness, all of the dysfunction. And I
yeah,
don't mean to trigger anyone, but it's pretty safe to say that we're all a little dysfunctional nowadays.
yeah. We have every right to be, but it's true. It's um, I don't know why I said that. That's funny, but yeah, like you know, and then communication too, right? I mean, before the gathering, what can I do to help make you happy, mom? Or what, I know that you like pumpkin pie, you know, you're saying to your kids, is there anything else that I can do that brings you joy on this day, you know? I mean, and then try to give that to them. Best if they say, you know, I want to go to New York, you know, it's like, okay, well, let's be a little bit reasonable, you know. So I'm
Right.
just saying, like, trying to, it's almost like trying to communicate with the other person, or making an effort to communicate, which shows them that you care. You know, you're flying, even if it's like, let's say you're gonna go see your in-laws, and you never met them before, and you know, meet the parents, like that movie Meet the Parents, right? So maybe call them up beforehand. How can I make it easier for you before I come out? I really want to have a, you know, I really I'm really excited to see you. I'm honoring this time. I think it's, whatever your verbiage is, how you would say that. Um, what can I do to help? How can I make things easier? Whether that's helping or not. They might say, I don't need your help. Like, okay. And
Yeah.
you can still hold that peace within yourself and you'll still be helping them. But at least being able to communicate that, that willingness to be able to help that change, make the situation less stressful for other people.
Yeah.
And what you said earlier as well, like, I think it's true. It's like, why do we just have to be grateful on this day? Well, it's almost like we need to assign value in our culture, right? So maybe it is just one day out of a year. Maybe that's what makes it special. And then individually you can do your own work with being grateful. I try to spend at least 20 minutes a day being grateful for everything. So there are practices like that you can do too. But yeah, so maybe that's the one day for everybody, is to be grateful. So tune into that, like you said, and feel that, right?
It's fun. I want to, something you mentioned sparked up a couple of course concepts for me, the Course in Miracles. The way that you were describing, just being able to give, or asking, how can I make this more enjoyable for you? Or how can I make this easier for you? And it kind of goes back to, the choices that we have, right? We all have free will, and our free will is to choose love or fear. And the truth is, when we're choosing love, we're not worried about what we're not going to get, or we're not worried about overextending ourselves, or giving too much, because we're just in that vibration of love, and we're just in that vibration of giving. And the Course concepts, the Course in Miracles, has two different concepts that are coming up really, really strong for me right now. The first one is, if your brother, so if another human being believes that their salvation is, that their happiness is based on you doing something for them, then do it for them. When we're in a place of love, if we're giving that, right? If my kids say they want to go to New York and I've got the money and I can do it and I give it, then it's not going to hurt me, or I'm not going to feel like I'm losing something. And then the other concept is, to give is to have. To give is to have. And so the more we give, the more we're receiving what we're giving at the same time. And I get, it's not my experience that I walk into every situation, fully embodied in a pure, loving vibration. But it does tell me where I'm resonating. If I don't want to give that to my kids, or if I feel like I'm doing too much during this Thanksgiving dinner, well, that right there is telling me I'm not in the vibration of love. And there's nothing wrong with that either, right? Like, I can love myself in the fact that I get around my family and I become, the scapegoat that creates the drama, right? Like, I can love myself in that. But like, if I'm actually in the loving space, if I'm seeing and accepting and hearing and understanding my family, and giving from that place of no expectation of anything in return, if I'm truly loving them, I'm going to be at peace. Like, there's no other, there's nothing else I could even feel, right? Everything else is just an indicator that I'm not in that loving space, whether I'm with family, with myself, alone, with my kids, wherever I'm at.
Yeah.
So choosing love.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to do because of our conditioning and because of our programming and because of the ego. It's just not easy, but it is possible.
Yeah. And so as you're saying this, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I think it's really important and important to approach. But as you were talking, I was hearing, well, what if I don't feel love? What if I don't feel love for those people? how can I manufacture that love? But you also said something else that was very key, was the giving. Giving is receiving. So if you focus on the giving, for example, I'm not saying you can't focus on the love like you said, but for example, if you focus on the giving, I believe that love comes from that. Like love is birthed from that place of giving. Some people say, well, I don't have anything to give. Everybody has something to give. Your time, um, your ear to listen, whatever that is. It's everybody has an abundance to give one another, I believe. And and yes, start with yourself, give to yourself, love yourself, all of those things. But I also believe you will see yourself when you give to your brother, you give to your sister, give to your humanity. You will see yourself, you will see that greater love, and you will begin to feel that love. So love and gratitude, I think they're very, very similar. Gratitude, appreciation, whatever your word is for that, um, is very similar. It's like if I think about joy and happiness, and I feel into that, and I feel about gratitude and appreciation. I feel like that's what love is, because that's where my heart is really open. Is when I'm joyful and when I'm in that state of gratitude. So if love is a big word, I know. I mean, and I'm just coming from my perspective because I completely honor what you're saying as well, Chrissy. So don't think that I'm not honoring what you're saying as far as love and bringing love to people. But I'll just repeat again, like if you can just give, however that is for you, no matter how small it is, then I believe that love comes from that place. And then you're grateful, like you're receiving, right? What you said, and
Yeah.
that giving
Yeah.
is receiving.
Yeah. So another way to say this, Tyler, you actually the other night, maybe a couple of weeks ago, I was sharing with you about my kids and how they gave me a lot of opportunities that day to heal. and and what you said to me was, and they are you. So loving them is just loving yourself. And so the truth with the capital T, right? The truth of the universe is that we are all one. So if I am giving to someone, however big or small it is, right? The course also says that there's no hierarchy. So like if I'm giving a penny compared to $1 million, it's the same. The giving is the same. But if I am giving to someone else, I am giving to myself. That is the actual notion of to give is to have. And we are all one. So if I can't love you, I actually can't love myself. So it all comes back to loving yourself.
Yeah. And also with giving too, some people, myself included, whenever I say some people, I'm talking about myself, because it's a reflection, it's my experience. So some people have a hard time giving. It's a hard concept, or they feel like if I give, then I'm going to get something back, or there's an expectation that something is owed to me because I give. When it's true giving, it's just like, oh, it's like immediate, from what I find. Like, oh, it's like taking action, giving. Like I was in the grocery store a couple weeks ago, and the guy in front of me couldn't pay for his whole bill, so it's just like immediate, okay, I'm going to help this guy, and I did. But if there was resistance there, it was like, oh, I don't know, it's like, what am I getting out of it? That's not giving, because you are, what you said, you're receiving such a beautiful gift when you just go ahead and do it. So if there's resistance there, maybe just take a moment. If there's no resistance and it feels like something to do, then do it. And that goes for any time of the year. You know, if you feel like you just want to tell somebody at the post office, you know, that they have beautiful eyes, you know, you're not trying to get anything out of them. You just, then say it. You know, you feel that. I think it's our natural instinct as humans, and it's that God force moving through us that wants to just to give to people. And everything else is just kind of an illusion, really.
Yeah.
So.
And I think too, especially, I mean, it's hard for me sometimes, and I've been doing these practices for a long, long time. So I think also is to practice some compassion for yourself, and to know that there will be resistance. Like, it's going to happen, you know, and that is the place to pause and look at, oh, it's because I'm acting from that old belief that, you know, giving is some sort of loss on my part, right? Like, if I give this, I'm not going to have it anymore. And that's just an old belief.
Yeah, it's a very old belief. It's an ancient belief that we're in lack when we're given everything that we need at all times, whether we feel that or not. It's true. We're given everything. I mean, just the fact that and this will be another podcast or another live that we can do, but just the fact that we are in existence is our worthiness. You know, we don't need to be unworthy, because we are worthy in the eyes of God just by our own existence. So I don't know how you'd like to kind of end our show here. I know we went off on a lot of degrees, a lot of different angles, but hopefully this will help people with.
Yeah, I feel like there might be. So I saw a few people popping on and off. And so most likely you'll be watching this on the replay. So we did cover a lot today, and we covered a lot of really deep and sensitive stuff. So if you do have questions, if you do have comments, please put them in the comment section of this video, wherever you're seeing it, or you can email us. Our email address is in the description, wherever you're seeing this. So you can email us, and we are more than happy to offer that guidance to you. Also, we may have just picked the topic for next week, which might be existing is enough. I don't know how you feel about that, Tyler, but I think that would be a great topic. Sure. And if you guys are having anything specific that you want us to talk about, please, please, please share it with us. We're doing these for you. We're not doing them for ourselves. We could easily go have a conversation by ourselves and just talk without sharing the content with the world. So please help us. Let us know what you need so that we can talk about what it is that you need. And so we will see you next week, but not the week after that, because we will be in Oahu celebrating my 10th AA birthday. So we will be missing a week, but we will be here next week, and we're looking forward to it. So that's all I've got, Tyler.
Thank you, everybody.